As we gather, we light this candle. So can somebody please light the candle for me? Thank you, Ben. We light this candle as a symbol of hope. May the inner light within each of us be kindled each day. May the light of truth and goodness be a part of our lives constantly. May we seek always to bring light wherever the deep shadows fall. And those are the words by Ruth Southworth. Well, I think most of you know that I've had an interesting journey up here today. Taxi from home, fine, arrived at the station in loads of time, and they'll just notice delayed. Went onto a different platform for another train and got onto it, and that was delayed because the doors wouldn't shut properly or open. So saw the right train that I was waiting for originally. It's going to go quickly, so I ran. I'm too old to run. I got it. So welcome all of you. Most of you I think I've met before, some of you maybe not. I'm Elizabeth Fairs and I'm from the York congregation. So welcome. Some words now from Lon Ray Ford. Prayer doesn't change things. Prayer changes people, and people change things. Let us enter into the spirit of prayer. And some words by Jeremy Taylor, written in November 1931. Prayer is the peace of our spirits, the stillness of our thoughts, the evenness of recollection, the seat of meditation, the rest of our cares, and the calm of our tempers. So welcome all of you. First reading is one you've most possibly heard many times. It's from the prophet Micaiah Gibran, and it's on prayer. Then a priestess said, "Speak to us of prayer." And he answered, saying, "You pray in your distress and in your need. Would that you might pray also in the fullness of your joy and in your days of abundance. For what is prayer but the expansion of yourself into the living ether? And if it is for your comfort to pour your darkness into space, it is also for your delight to pour forth the dawning of your heart. And if you cannot but weep when your soul summons you to prayer, she should spur you again and yet again, though weeping until you shall come laughing. When you pray, you rise to meet in the air those who are praying at that very hour, and whom saving prayer you may not meet. Therefore, let your visit to that temple invisible be for naught but ecstasy and sweet communion. For if you should enter the temple for no other purpose than asking, you shall not receive. And if you should enter into it to humble yourself, you shall not be lifted. Or even if you should enter into it to beg for the good of others, you shall not be heard. It is enough that you enter the temple invisible. I cannot teach you how to pray in words. God listens not to your words, save when he himself utters them through your lips. And I cannot teach you the prayer of the seas and the forests and the mountains, but you who are born of the mountains and the forests and the seas can find their prayer in your heart. And if you but listen in the stillness of the night, you shall hear them saying in silence, Our God, who art our winged self, it is thy will in us that willeth. It is thy desire in us that desireth. It is thy urge in us that would turn our nights which are thine into days which are thine also. We cannot ask thee for aught, for thou knowest our needs, before they are born in us. Thou art our need, and in giving us more of thyself, thou givest us all. This next bit isn't on the order of service, but still, I had intended it to be, but I forgot to add it. I had neighbours who were very, very strict Anglicans, and they believed that prayer answered their needs. And I remember them saying, one time we were at a village group meeting, and they were saying how they'd been absolutely, completely broke. And how, I can't remember what it was that happened, but somehow or other they were given some money, collection was given. I don't know how they got the money, but they got enough money for the next week, 2 weeks. They felt their prayers had been answered. So that's one thing. The other thing is that at chapel at York, we have a meditation group. I don't go to it, I'm not very good at meditating, but when it first started, I did go. And there was one session I went to, and there'd been a young couple who were attending who had had 2 or 3 miscarriages. And they talked about that, and they talked about how they wanted us to pray for them because she just got pregnant again, and she wanted us to pray that she would actually keep the baby. And I felt the prayer through the room, and that's something I don't really believe in, but I felt it. I've only done that once, but that once I could feel the energy somehow. I think that energy is a better word to use. But the leader of the meditation group is a very honest, caring person. And whether he generated it or what, I don't know. But yeah, she did keep the baby, and they had a lovely child. So I just thought I'd mention that, seeing as it really fitted in with that reading somehow. So, words by Camille Gibran. Now, a prayer of encouragement by Vernon Marshall. So let us join together in prayer. As we examine ourselves during these moments of quiet reflection, we do confess that there are changes we could have made in ourselves. We could have made a greater effort to learn by our mistakes, instead of trying to hide them or excuse them. We could have learned to be more attentive to the needs and desires of those close to us whom we love, instead of convincing ourselves that we are always right. But we have all the answers. We are aware of our shortcomings and seek forgiveness and the strength to grow through them. We are also aware of our strengths. May we find the will to tap those resources of ability which lie so dormant for so long. Give us to know where we can excel without our being arrogant. Give us to know where we can gain confidence without our being blasé. Give us to know where we can find peace without our being inactive. We know we are far from perfect, yet we know that we can be better than what we settle for. As we think of our own needs, let us not forget the needs of our companion travellers along the road of life. We remember that our church is a community. It cannot function without a willing cooperation amongst its members. It cannot function unless we have knowledge of one another's needs. It cannot function unless we have a loving concern for one another. Help us to reach out to each other without hindrance when we see the need for friendly assistance. Give us the desire to share a load when the burden is too great. May we use our talents to enable us all as a community to grow in spirit. Amen. Ben is going to read the next section.
Does Prayer Work by Jim Corrigal. A struggle I've had since moving towards faith over the past few years has been with prayer. I began by praying for divine help when facing tricky situations, like taking my first service. And it seemed to work. Everyone told me afterwards how well I had done, and I basked in self-satisfaction. But I became aware of a pattern. Finding the difficult problems seemed less intractable after prayer. I eventually realized that my prayers were very self-centered. So I began praying for others, beginning with close family and friends, and I sensed a subtle change, as if the good thoughts I sent out influenced the dynamic between us. So does prayer work? I can't be certain, and I don't believe in a divinity with a magic wand. Perhaps prayer is simply a dialogue with oneself. If so, it is a conversation with the deepest part of oneself, the part that links us to the rest of humanity, that part of ourselves we call conscience. The writer John O'Donoghue captures a truth when he says in Anam Cara, "When you send out love from the bountifulness of your own love, it reaches other people." He calls this the deepest power of prayer. And he goes on to invoke Dante's notion that the secret rhythm of the universe is the rhythm of love. I believe that following a daily pattern of prayer puts me in touch with this secret rhythm of the universe. Why not try it for yourself? And here's a prayer. Give me the courage to trust in a power beyond myself. Give me the faith to open my heart, the humility to pray for simple things, the charity to pray for others, and grant me the trust to hand my prayers to the divine providence of the universe. Let us pray.
So to help us to pray now, I'm sorry there's a lot of prayers. If you don't like prayers, well, take them as readings. It's up to you. So help me to pray. I try to pray. I want to pray. I need to pray. For support, for help, for reassurance, but the words won't come. I can't find suitable words. I know in my heart what I am feeling, and maybe those feelings are a prayer in themselves. But that is not enough for me. Until I have expressed what is worrying me, spoken the words out loud, said what is in my heart, given voice to anxieties which haunt me, which fill me with fear, which surround me, like a cloak which is too warm on a summer day, or too thin in an icy wind. Until I can find those words, I remain ill at ease. My inability to pray my prayer just adds to my worry. I try to empty my mind. I try to see in my mind's eye a pale blue cloudless sky, a silent landscape, untouched by noise or movement. And then my prayer is simply, help me to pray, put the words in my mouth, help me to say what is in my heart, take away my fear of saying it, just help me to say, just help me to pray. I feel very much like Stephanie Ramage most of the time when I try to meditate. It's why I can't meditate very often, because I just don't know what to say within my mind in that situation. I've written everything down, but I've got to keep on psychologically going back to the order of service. So the next is a reading, and Diane's going to do this. It's For Those Who Cannot Pray by John Midgley.
For those who cannot pray. And now a prayer for those who cannot pray, those for whom it all seems strange, those unsure of what prayer really means. A quietness shared. Someone's voice with earnest, searching words. Moods of hope or sorrow and assurance, yearning and concerning. Will there be answer? Not in direct or convincing signs, no guarantees. But somehow, needs are spoken in someone's caring words for those who cannot find their own. Or maybe in the silence now, or is it just the atmosphere that speaks? Let it speak. Let mood or spirit breathe a prayer for us, the inarticulate. It's all right. Prayer must not be forced, no strained duty. May spirit of this place, its past and present and vision, hopes of what it yet will be, in phrases of some poet or prayer maker, rest gently on us now. We are here, accepted, even if we cannot pray.
Thank you very much, Lily. Can read it there. So, do you pray? And if you do pray, why do you pray? I'm not expecting an answer just now, but it's something to think about. It's only a short talk, so it's something to think about. I expect, I've written down here, I am sure, but no, I'm not sure. I expect that all, or certainly most of you, will pray when you're here at church. But do you pray during the rest of the week? As was suggested in the earlier reading, I don't. Or very, very, very rarely. Were any of you taught as very young children to kneel at your bedside and pray before going to bed? No, not sure, no. So, I wasn't, certainly. But we did have a routine. As a child, and even going up to all the time I lived at home, or maybe not when I was a teenager, say younger, up to my teenage years maybe. Before going to bed, my sister and I would go to our parents and any other relatives if they were there, grandparents, great aunts and uncles, particularly on my mother's side of the family, visited more, and we would say, we'd give them a good night kiss and expect one in return, and always say God bless. So they would say God bless to us, and I presume we said God bless back. And even now, the words God bless give me a feeling of warmth, comfort and love. If somebody says, oh, God bless you, which happens very, 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 very rarely now, of course. Talking to my daughter, Catherine, who some of you know, she's a Unitarian as well. She's been a junior leader at the GA events, so she's very definitely Unitarian. I talked to her about this service. She said yes, she also has fond memories of the same routine when she was younger. So I wanted to say, I think I would say God bless to her and my son as well. She's also building her own special family routine at bedtime. And what she says is actually, because my grandson's 9 years old now, she's had a birthday recently, and my granddaughter is 2 going on 20, in her fight for independence. She's 3 in the summer in July. But to both of them, she says, each in turn, good night, go to sleep now, mummy loves you, or daddy loves you and mummy loves you, or something like that. I don't know which way around she says the daddy and mummy, but she always says, mummy loves you, daddy loves you, good night, go to sleep. And so that's her routine. There's no God bless in her routine, but she does have a nighttime routine. Do any of you have a prayer that comes unbidden to your heart or your lips? Yes, some of you are nodding. I do. Whenever I hear an ambulance, a fire engine, or a police siren, I always think, I'd even quietly say the words, God be with you. So, good. And I don't know whether I believe in God, but I do say those words. Now, I'm certain my words will not be heard by anyone, other than maybe when the children were younger, they would hear me mutter them. But certainly nobody in the ambulance or the drivers of the vehicles. And I do not personally believe in a God person. And I don't believe in that's not my God and not how I see a God. So I don't expect that prayer to be heard. So why do I always say these words? And I still say them. I'm 70 years old. So those words have been said by me for at least 50 years. Long time to say the same prayer. I think that this is my way of vocalising the hope that the people at risk or ill will receive the help or care necessary. So why do I pray? And why do so many people of so many religions also pray? Some of these people will believe in a God in heaven. Some of you may, or their religion's equivalent. But I expect many will, like me, pray to a spirit or God within. That's my sort of feeling of a God or spirit within. To me, I think more of a spirit within all people. I am sure that most people do know that if when they pray they ask for material possessions or personal gain, for example to win the lottery, to lose their spots or become rich and popular, or for a particular person to fall in love with them, then it's unlikely that their prayers will be granted. But perhaps, and I still can't get around this one, perhaps those people who have won large sums on the lottery or do win raffle tickets regularly have prayed or do pray regularly for wins. I know there are some people who seem to win raffles regularly. Maybe that's because they buy a lot more raffle tickets than me, but certainly some people say, oh, I'm always lucky, I often win things. I don't class myself one of those. Perhaps on the odd occasion, I don't buy raffle tickets now at all, but I do buy raffle tickets. Perhaps I ought to start praying for a win, because I don't. Some of you know that in 2013 I spent 4.5 months working and living with the Unitarians in northeast India. Now some of you will know this, but there are actually, I'd say, more Unitarians in that part of India, north of Bangladesh, than there are in the United Kingdom. So there are certainly villages which are completely Unitarian. And so all your neighbours have the same faith, and they often have midweek services in the home. And so they go from one of the leaders of the congregation, usually from their home to another's, with the kids. And it's quite accepted that the kids will curl up on the floor and go to sleep at some stage during the service. But they have them regularly. And so I was there supported by working for the Bowling Trust. I was mainly working with the self-help group facilitators. And I think it's a brilliant idea. A group of people, about your number, who are small farmers or poor villagers. They would often become a group, a self-help group, and they would have facilitators, the people who I was working with, come out to them, who would give them ideas on how to do the finances and the organisation of the self-help groups. And each time they met, they would all pay in a certain amount, the equivalent of maybe 50 pence or £1. And that money would be invested for them in like co-op banks, the local equivalent. And then if they needed, they could borrow that money back. So not any of the money. And I thought that was the big. Some of them worked really, really well. Some ladies knitted, some grew ginger, some have pigs. So it's a varied. Just before I left, I was invited to an at-home service, and they actually held it for me. And they held it for me to wish me good travel, good journey, safe arrival back home. And it made me feel quite blessed, really, to feel that these people who had become friends counted me as one of their friends as well. And quite an experience. The service was basically, some of it was in English, some of it was in Parsi, their local language, and it was a mixture of words, prayers and songs, hymns. Very moving. So, going back to my earlier question, why do people pray? I think that most people pray because of a need within themselves. For me, prayer is a conversation, and I think for many people it is as well, a conversation with their deepest selves, where they can recognise their hopes and fears, and where hopefully they can start to come to terms with difficulties, or begin to find solutions. I know when I've had problems either bringing up my children, or at school when I was working as a teacher, or especially when my marriage broke down, I often ask for strength of character and the ability to see the problem from the other person's point of view. And accepting that I may not be in the right is surely a start. So for me, I pray to the Spirit within me, and my prayers always include my wish to make myself a better, more organised and more caring and thoughtful person. And I know for that to happen, I need to change myself. I've been trying to change myself for many years. I don't think I've had much success yet, but maybe from other people's point of view I don't know. So why do you pray? Do you pray to a God in heaven or a supreme being? Do you pray to a Holy Spirit? Or like me, do you pray to a God or Spirit that you imagine to be within yourself and within all living things? When you pray, do you give thanks for happy times and good friends? Compliment yourself if you've done something well? Tell yourself off if you've done something silly or stupid? And berate yourself if you've done something wrong? Certainly, this sort of conversation with myself is often part of my prayers. One of the prayers that I found when reading for this service asked the creative spirit to fulfill our heart's desire, and for the cure of every ill, that we may share the happiness of all beings. I didn't include that prayer in the service because I'm not sure that we should ask to fulfill our heart's desires, as some people's heart's desires could be the opposite of others. We also felt that we should not ask for the cure of all ills, although I do wish that we could all share more happiness. When I say God bless or God be with you, like most Unitarians, I do not think of a male or female God, but rather of the divine spirit within all living things. So thinking of this divine spirit will help. I would like to finish with the words that I used for my welcome. First, the words adapted from Long Ray Call: prayer doesn't change things. Prayer changes people, and people change things. And the word by Jeremy Taylor: prayer is the peace of our spirits, the stillness of our thoughts, the evenness of recollection, the seat of meditation, the rest of our cares, and the calm of our tempers. And so I hope that our prayers will change us so that we may change things. Amen. I don't know where it's got to. No, I haven't finished yet. There's a responsive prayer, but it's on the sheet of paper that we can't find. I'll read it. May I be no one's enemy, may I be the friend of that which is eternal and abides. May I wish for every person's happiness and envy none. May I never rejoice in the ill fortune of one who has wronged me. May I, to the extent of my power, give needful help to all who are in want. May I never fail a friend. May I respect myself. May I always keep tame that which rages within me. May I accustom myself to be gentle and never be angry with others because of circumstances. May I know good people and follow in their footsteps. And thinking of today, may I praise the taxi driver and the train for getting me here just in time. Thank you. Can you please look at the order of service where the words of the benediction are made together? Our prayers are ended, our thoughts are still. May we know peace and joy this day and always. Remember, O Seeker, this truth divine, the light is within thee, let the light shine.